Hi, and welcome to the New Property Show. I'm Steve McManaman. Nicole will be coming back to us about her experience with the Display Home Village tour, and Peter will be discussing with us how to future-proof your home value. Rory will be discussing construction, finance, and the pitfalls of building your own home. David from Homely will be discussing with us how to advertise your home on one of Australia's largest online platforms. And finally, our panel will be discussing investment properties. So welcome back again, Nicole. Last time you've gone out and visited some display homes. I want to pick that up from there. So you've gone to a second village. Do you want to walk us through, so you've got out of the car, you've walked into the building, you're greeted. How did that feel?
So the second village had a much better feel than the first one. I did call ahead to check that the different builders were going to be there on the day before I left. It had a lot more infrastructure than the first village I visited. It had supermarkets, gyms. It was a full suburb. It felt like it was a very established suburb, and there was a lot more builders at that particular display village.
Okay, so you walked in. Who served you?
So the first one I went to, the girl that greeted me was fantastic. She was really lovely. She was what is called a host, so not a sales associate or someone that works in sales for the builder. She was a host. So she gave me, she opened the home for me to have a look through. She gave me some information. However, she never took any of my details and to pass on to a sales associate. She was basically, here's the information, have a read through, see what you think. If you're interested, give us a call.
Perfect. Second or third person you've met, have they asked you at any point what your budget is, what size home you're looking for? Were you given any brochures?
Yeah, so the second person, yes, they did ask me all of that information, gave me brochures, but again, didn't ask for my name or any contact details.
And overall, when you've walked into these homes, you've walked into, I guess sometimes it could be a bit overwhelming. When you open up the door, it could be a couple of salespeople sitting down there. Did you feel comfortable walking in? Was there any that you'd actually been elsewhere and then they didn't want to deal with you? Or
No, not at all. Everyone was very welcoming. Some people just let me go through the house myself. There were others that actually guided me through the house. Of course, I was the only one there. On the weekends, I assume it would be very much different because there's going to be obviously lots of probably family groups. They could have a lot of people through the house at one time, I would imagine. So it's probably a very different experience going during the week as it is to going on the weekend. But they were all lovely. They were all very polite and very engaged.
And out of the 6 that you did visit, how many asked you what your budget was and when you're looking to build?
5 out of the 6.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess we'll touch on shortly, but your overall impression of the display homes?
They were all the same but different, if that makes sense. So there was one particular company that I went through that I felt was a much more high-end finish, and the floor. I really liked the floor plan. Some of the others seemed quite vanilla, I guess, in terms of, well, the colour palettes were obviously quite neutral, and they were very display-y. But there was one particular, if I was personally buying myself, that I probably would have gone for the one that I liked the most, which would seem to be a lot more high-end, better finishes, a little bit more unique than some of the others. So
let's investigate that a little bit further when you come on the next episode. Nicole, thanks for joining us on the New Property Show.
Thanks, Steve.
I'm here with Peter from Presenting Homes Australia. Welcome to the New Property Show. You're talking about future-proofing homes. What is that?
Because you're selling new homes, the key thing that at the earliest stage, I try and get buyers to contemplate when they're going to either sell their home or turn it into an investment property. And the decisions they make at planning stage are critical. And so as we go through this today, it just gives buyers an idea of how to look at their home as an investment, not just a primary residence. The key thing with property, it's designed to create wealth and generational wealth.
So there's things like downlights, there's going to be ceiling heights, cabinetry colours. Do you mind just sort of digging in a little bit deeper there and just telling us the advantages and disadvantages of picking, say, for example, 8-foot ceilings versus 9-foot.
Look, the problem with an 8-foot ceiling, the place always feels small. Might have been great in the 1950s, but we're in the 2020s, and if you have an 8-foot ceiling, if you ever go to sell again, it makes everything you do feel compact. So one of the key things that I would actually advise, if you've got a budget you've got to work to, instead of spending it all outside, save the money if you don't have the budget and go for a higher ceiling. Gives that sense of space, so even if your home's actually a smaller home, it doesn't feel small. So 9-foot ceilings are a really good base to begin with. When it comes to lighting, some of the worst things in my opinion you can do design-wise is put in oyster lights or battens. They really are, late 90s additions. So putting in downlights, especially if you've got the 72mm ones, you spread them around the room. What it does is it evens the lighting out in the home, so you don't cast shadows.
Cabinetry colours. I've seen, you've obviously from the display home background.
Yes.
I've seen some homes that look pretty dated and some that look quite modern. What are some of the suggestions there for pot drawers, opening cupboards, soft close drawers, and possibly looking at colours as well, so block colours versus patterns? Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you can afford to upgrade your kitchen and you've got pot drawers, that's just really valuable. Where you go to a corner and the whole thing pulls out so you can access the back. We have what's called a lazy Susan to cause it to spin around. Super important. The thing that affects the look of a kitchen more than anything else is the colours you go. Back when I was selling homes, there was a lot of browns in there, like coffee, just drew the light out of the rooms. Block colours are really strong colours. You might have greens, browns, blues, and they look great in their time, but 6-12 months down the track, looks terrible.
Start to date.
Yep, so one of the key things is go for a really clean, crisp look. So what it means, if you change the colour of the home in the future, those cupboards won't look out of place.
Beautiful. Well, Peter, I want to thank you for joining us on the New Property Show. Tips have been fantastic and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Rory, thank you so much for coming on to the New Property Show. I believe you've just been nominated for the Better Business Awards, Customer Service 2023.
Absolutely, yeah.
With Own Home Loans. Okay, so what do you guys do?
Thanks, mate. Well, thanks so much for having me, and we're rapt to be nominated once again. It's something that we're very proud of our customer service, and I suppose that's what we have as the absolute bedrock of what we do. There's thousands of mortgage brokers out there who do an amazing job getting people good rates, and look after them really well and get them to the settlement period. What we really focus on is what happens after settlement. How are we going to get them the debt that they need, but then really importantly, show them how to pay it off. Even if it's a relatively small mortgage, it's still a hell of a lot of money for the person who's getting it. So we really focus on, let's get them through that debt, and then let's show them how to build wealth through property. So that's kind of what we're all about.
Typically what we're doing is we're getting a client, they're settling at $600,000.
Sure.
They've tipped in about $150,000. So let's say by the time they've got their grants, they're sitting at $450,000 home.
Sure.
They own occupier, they're living in the property, there's no tax deductions. Really, normally that's sort of struggle town from there. Where do you go from there?
Absolutely. I think day one, it's setting them up for success. It's saying, how do we structure their financial ecosystem to give them the best chance of getting through that debt as soon as they can? And for us, for most of our clients, it's using a multiple offset account model. So an offset account works that anything in your offset account is offsetting interest on your home loan, as the name would suggest. What we want to do is have a few of them, bucket their money. People who might have seen the Barefoot Investor might see this as a similar type model, which it is. But instead of earning interest, an offset account will save interest. So let's put your savings in one account, have your spending in one account, maybe funnel off some money for bills or for a rainy day, or have a short-term savings goal. But it's really important that your money flows through those accounts in the right way to set you up for success. So a little trick that we like to use is have your pay go into a savings account rather than a spending account, and then have a fixed amount go into a spending account. It seems like a really small thing, but what we've found over and over again is that people who do that save more money. you know, it's like when a tax return comes in or a bonus payment or something like that. If it hits a spending account, you're likely to spend it. If it hits a savings account, you're less likely to spend it. So it's working with those sorts of things to, again, set them up for success. But then it's all about reviewing, and it's going back and saying, okay, well, this is our best thinking 12 months ago. How's it fitting in with your lifestyle? Can your lender do anything better? And making sure that it's the right loan for the situation for that client until they get through that debt.
Some really great tips there. Thank you, Rory, and thanks for joining us on the New Property Show.
Thanks so much for having me. Ta.
Joined here by David from Homely. Thank you so much for coming on the New Property Show. Homely.
Thanks a lot for having me. Yes, we are a real estate website. We're a place where people can go and find, you know, their next place to live. We have been around for about 5 years as Homely. Before that, we were a company called Street Advisor. We kind of merged together to build something that was a little bit different. Look, it's a great place for people to come and find real estate, find their next home. And look, a lot of real estate agents are using our website to load their listings that they have. And yeah, everyone's coming to find them on Homely.
I guess from a customer's point of view, you've got quite a unique feature. They're not always just coming to you just to look for houses, but they're looking at suburbs and street reviews. What are some of the features there?
Yeah, look, it is one of our big points of difference is the fact that we've got the largest collection of street and suburb reviews in Australia, and people are often, and particularly over the last few years, they've been priced out of a certain neighbourhood and they want to know where's the next best place to live, where are the nice streets and things like that. That's where this localised content works really, really well, and we've got locals that are in the area talking about what's great about their street, sometimes what's not so great about their street, but it is real information. I think it's great for people to be able to use that information when they are making, you know, one of the most stressful and big decisions that they'll ever make in their lives, and that's buying a house.
So you can almost say, know thy neighbour, literally street by street. So got some good features in terms of the map reviews and that sort of stuff. It's quite a sexy looking site. What do you see happening with Homely in 2023? Do you see you guys getting more listings, or how are you really going to become that big national brand?
Yeah, look, we are a very big company now. We're pretty much number 3 in Australia. We're growing very, very quickly, which is you know, very exciting. For 2023, I think it's more of the same. We've got a really big focus on letting more people in Australia know who we are, but also getting more listings on our website.
And you've got a downloadable app as well, so how do you get that?
Yeah, we can pretty much download our app in any of the app sites. It's a great app. We've actually won the #1 real estate app award last year, so it was pretty exciting for us. And yeah, it's got a really good, easy to use app, and it does look really, really good.
Okay, so I know we're on the New Property Show, but let's just go for a broader spectrum here. What are some of the most searched suburbs, I guess, in Melbourne and outside Victoria as well? What's coming up at the moment? What should clients be looking for? Where do you see the growth areas, and what's your top 5 for areas that you should be buying in if you're buying established?
No problems. Look, established areas, people are always searching for Broadbeach in Queensland. It comes up #1 often. Also St Kilda in Victoria does very, very well. A lot of people looking for these areas, and we have a lot of international people also looking in these areas as well. Established areas, other established areas, look, anywhere sort of hovering around that Sydney CBD does incredibly well. I think the prices in those areas as well have gone absolutely insane. Funnily enough, an area that has done extremely well over the last 20 years, I'd say, is Hobart and Tasmania. It is one of those high growth areas, and to be perfectly honest, if I could go back 20 years and buy a house, I would have bought it in Hobart, because my house would be worth 260% more right now.
It's incredible. So with this website, are you actually seeing a lot more units and apartments? Are people changing the way they live now? They're going from 4-bedroom homes and they're moving into the city, or are they moving out of the city?
Look, it's a real combination. We've found that a lot of people that are coming from interstate, internationally, they're always wanting to be really close to the cities, and they're the ones that are living in apartments and 2-bedders and 1-bedders and things like that. It seems to be more established people that are the ones that are moving to their dream house, moving further out of the city, so that they can have these bigger blocks.
How do you get the most amount of money for your house? How would I make the most amount of money if I was listing my property?
That's a really good question. If I knew that, I'd probably be a lot richer, but I can say I can say there are a few things that you can do. If you're going to renovate, have a look what's available right now. Find out what's selling the best, what has the highest price range on it, and try to emulate it. But you also want to find a property that is not, it's more unique. It's not in competition. So something that people like, but there isn't heaps of it. You want to try to build something like that.
The unicorn.
Yes, the unicorn. But also I think your agent is so important when it does come to selling your property. You need to trust them implicitly when you do choose an agent, because they can, I saw a property on the weekend sell for $150,000 more than the vendors wanted, and to be perfectly honest, they just won Tats Lotto, and that was just some good advice that they received from the agent at the right time.
Beautiful. Dave, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
My name's Audrey from Whisker Architecture. My question to the panel is, what role does quality design and architecture play in the investment game, if any, when you're considering moving forwards with a project?
Sure.
Yeah, personally, I'm not sure when people seek out traditional investment properties. I think design plays a massive part with particular builders that work predominantly in investment. They're only going to produce, say, 6 or 7 designs. I think there's a big influence there because they want to make sure that they get it right and they're ticking a lot of the general boxes that people are looking for. For us personally, as build consultants, we help people through the build process. And even when we've got someone building an investment property, we personally think there's huge value in that design phase, because if you've got an opportunity to make something that's a little bit different and it's going to cost you the exact same amount of money, I think that's really valuable. So for us personally, we place a lot of emphasis on it.
I would, sorry?
I was just going to say again, it's location specific. If you've got a 10-star eco home, it's going to cost a lot more than somewhere where the build spec isn't as high. So if you're going to go down that route, it needs to be in a location that can cater for that increased price, I would say.
Okay, I think it's a great question. I think it would depend on the flexibility of the builder that you work with initially. So if they're providing fixed floor plans with no modifications, then it plays 0 input, because even if you want to change it, you can't. If you're working with, let's say you're onto your 3rd or 4th build and you've got what we covered in one of the earlier questions was some design alterations and improvements, you'd probably want to work and spend a little bit more money with a builder that actually values architecture. I don't think nowadays enough value or emphasis is actually being put onto energy ratings. I think they just tick boxes. I don't think enough has been done with double glazing. I don't think homes are really energy efficient, considering you can actually go to solar roof tiles. I think considering we live in 2022, there's an opportunity for architecture and also energetic redesign to really play a part in homes moving forward, and I look forward to welcoming that aboard. Great question, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, my name's
together.
Hey guys, my name's Cooper, and
my name's Charlie.
And just a general question: we're in our early 20s. What's some advice for starting out in investment properties? What's some early advice?
Okay, back to me. Early advice, start saving, because you need money to enter the market. And as my learned friends over there said earlier, look at mortgage or insurance. So you can get insurance and not have 20%. You can have less than 20% and pay a bit of insurance.
So there is some really good government schemes just now. There's used to be the first home loan deposit scheme where you can buy with 5% and pay no LMI if you're a first home buyer. So research all of the available government schemes like zero stamp duty and VIC under 600 grand, buying with 5%, and then it just opens up a whole heap of opportunities for you.
I'm going to add one more thing. I'm going to add, as a young person, understand what the Pareto principle is. 80-20. 20% of the effort yields 80% of the result. So apply that to your career. Have a Word document as you're working. Write down the achievements that you've put together throughout your working career, and take that to your interviews for negotiation. Okay, so show your worth, you'll get paid more. From there, you're building your deposit. From there, you're going to build your wealth no matter what you do or where you go.
Okay, I'm going to add to that if that's okay. I'd probably work backwards, and in terms of that, I'd probably look at your long-term goal. That would be in 8 or 9 years, how many properties would you like to own? And you need to work backwards from there, and then basically calculate what the steps are that you would need to take to calculate wealth. A bit hard as a young person, but I think the first thing you should do is have the vision and the mindset to have the property dream to do that. I think also what you guys have done is working together, so have friends in property that have the same aspirations. If you've got friends that want to go out every weekend versus friends that want to educate themselves, hang out with those friends. So my first bit of advice would be surround yourself with the best possible people you can. And if you have a partner or a friend or anything that's not providing value in your life, ditch them and go and find the people that are. That's it.
Education is so important.
Oh, I appreciate that, guys. Thank
Sorry,
you.
that's a fucking tough answer.
I still want them to party. There's a little bit of that in there.
Balance. Balance.
Yeah,
It's all
balance.
balance.
Sounds good.
And just adding on to that, what you guys were saying about moving to a different state in terms of buying property. If we were to buy a property in a different state, would you recommend moving there or staying in Melbourne and I guess having someone to watch over it?
Seems like a rent vesting question.
Completely dependent on your lifestyle. If you're in your early 20s, you've got friends, family here, but you also don't have any commitments. But I certainly wouldn't move just for the sake of getting into the property market. You could buy in another state and have a tenant in it, and then you could rent whatever you like in Melbourne. So I wouldn't recommend them moving just for that.
I do want to add one more thing. If you are able to live in a property and make it your principal place of residence, if you decide to leave afterwards and say you're renting or living with family, mum and dad, so on and so forth, there's something called the 6-year abstinence rule, which means you can rent that property out and continue to treat it as your principal place of residence for capital gains purposes up to 6 years. As you can imagine, that's a huge saving.
Basically means you don't pay capital gains tax if you sold it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
There's a lot of fear in the market at the moment with interest rates and all the rest of it, which could be a little bit off-putting for you guys if you're just starting that journey. Looking back over my personal investments and for clients, I would say do something rather than nothing. That's always a good thing. So then you don't kind of get stagnant not doing anything, and then 5 years later you look back and think, oh, I really had that opportunity, I should have taken it. But in saying that, when you do get that opportunity, just make sure you unpack it and you don't sort of just run with the excitement of it. Make sure you're getting across the finer detail, and as these guys say, surround yourself with people who know what they're talking about and get your learning from that. But then, yeah, always take that step. While you've got that drive and you're wanting to do it, if you have the opportunity to, absolutely do it.
One other answer I'll maybe give you there. So this is possibly going back not to moving. I don't advocate moving to other states for the sake of property purchases. But let's say, for example, I had 3 friends, and this is referring back to your earlier question. What you may do is you may take 3 opportunities at moving in. So if that friendship, and obviously putting legal aside for just a moment, is formidable strength, you've been friends for a long time, one person builds a property, you live in it for a year, you take advantage of the first home buyer grant. You move out, congratulations. Friend number 2 has bought a property, you move into that one and you share the expenses there. Congratulations. Year 3, the last person that maybe had the lower savings, you've all worked together now and you've moved in and you've moved up the property ranks. Each of you have left now with 3 properties. You've all got advantages for capital gains, tax advantages, and you're in the property market. Great question. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the New Property Show. Thank you to our panel of experts. Thank you to our live Q&A questions that have come from our audience. Thank you to the Alex Theatre, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the New Property Show.